Hello and welcome to the Serpent Temple podcast. This week, me and Floyd are going to be reviewing 3 albums that have been recently released. The first one will be Katatonia, Sky Void of Stars. The second will be Ahab, The Coral Tombs. And the third will be The Forest Sessions by Jonathan Hulten. So Floyd, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well. That was a really sleepy car ride, wasn't it?
That was so sleepy.
We've got this intense light staring at us as well.
I know.
Katatonia, Sky Void of Stars. I enjoyed the album. So this is their first album on Napalm Records. So they've released quite a few albums on Peaceville. Ran out of time to go back and check what the exact kind of like history is with their record labels, because I think they definitely started on Peaceville, because the earlier albums that I was a big fan of were definitely released on there, and then I think they left for a bit, came back. So Napalm Records, I think we were saying the other day how Napalm seems to be getting a lot of traction in the music scene.
They're snapping up a lot of bands at the moment, yeah. I keep seeing emails saying they're signing a new thing or another band, which is impressive. They must be doing really well. And
they've got the best gothic industrial German death metal bands currently signed to them. Crematory.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they'll ever show you the Crematory music video for Rise and Fall.
No.
You go watch that at some point. It's glorious.
Another
it's so
Serpent
good.
Temple reaction video coming up soon.
It's so good. I've definitely linked it before. It's like the dude with the like the big guys. The singer's called Felix, and he wears like this long like trench coat, and like he's got like a wallet chain. And
I love a wallet chain. Oh my god, this guy! He's got such an expressive face.
Yeah,
is
but
the
this
drummer
band's
blind?
I think he's just pulling a cyclone and just wearing glasses because it's cool.
This is incredible.
Oh, the song's hilarious as well. Like it's catchy as hell. Yeah.
Sorry, Katatonia. We need to take a minute. This is amazing. I'm sorry.
These guys are signed to Napalm Records as well.
They're label mates with Katatonia, so this is relevant.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, how does he know what everything is? It's a dark room and this drummer's wearing sunglasses and just going for it. Are they plugged in? They're not plugged in, are they?
I'm not sure.
I don't think any of their instruments are plugged in. I want to hear what this sounded like when they were actually filming it. I bet it was amazing.
It's like you've seen that video of I think it's one of the clips of Elvis performing, but they've done it like the actual audio version.
It's like
just loads of scuffling noises. Yeah, it's so awkward.
Funny. I love this. Yeah, no, this is great. Not a single cable in sight. Imagine.
Right, should we get back to...
Anyway, Katatonia. Yeah, this is an interesting album. They actually formed the year I was born.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
What, 90... No, I'm not going to reveal it.
91.
No, okay.
91.
No, it's funny because I'll talk a little bit about the history of the band, because like I'm not overly familiar with a lot of their later works, but like I had a period of time where I was quite obsessed with some of their earlier albums. Like their first album, Dance of December Souls, is like pretty much like quite a blueprint album for kind of like that Death Doom style. And then we were listening to a little bit of Brave Murder Day on the way
really
up as well.
good.
Yeah. And we were saying it's got Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth doing their guest vocals.
Incredible, yeah.
On most of the tracks. And it's and it's kind of like now there's the albums I'm not so familiar with, but at some point in time they kind of transitioned to like this kind of proggier, more modern kind of sound, and it's like this album definitely kind of like exemplifies that. It's got like a lot of the tracks on this album like it's just a bit bouncier, and like, you know, like it's a different type of Katatonia. Like I still dig it, like, you know, it's very different from their earlier albums, which are so kind of like gloomy and dark and just really melancholic and morose. And there is moments on this album that still retain that sense of, you know, like melancholy, but overall like it's a far more accessible affair, much in the same way as the previous albums. Like City Burials was the last one, I believe. So, apologies if I got that wrong.
I wouldn't be able to correct you. This is my first Katatonia album, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's definitely worth going back and just listening to some of the older stuff, because I felt like you were quite into the stuff of Brave Murder Day, right?
I did like it a lot, yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. They kind of remind me of a depressive Mars Volta, this album.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
Yeah, it's like really like the kind of higher register vocals, and like the lyrics are all like incredibly personal, which I'm not kind of used to in this sort of like funeral doomy kind of context. Not that this one is as doomy or funerally, I don't know, funerary. But yeah, like there's literally, I will quote a lyric: Marriott, New York, checking in to be held by you.
It's like something from like an indie track from the noughties, isn't it?
It's really like I don't know. I think as a teenager I would have been like, whoa. You know, and like as an adult I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I see what they're doing there. Like I think it's effective, totally.
What do you think is the single most kind of iconic lyric in metal history? What's the one that kind of...
Oh no. If you don't like metal, leave the hall. I don't know, what do you think?
I don't know. There's loads to choose from. Do you ever remember the band 3 Inches of Blood?
Yeah, of course.
They've got one track called Crazy Nights, which isn't a cover of the Kiss song Crazy Nights. It's a different song. And there's just a bit they're talking about like playing metal shows and stuff. And there's a bit where he's just like screaming. It's like, Hammersmith is calling me. And it's just like...
That's so funny.
It's just so cringy, but it kills me. I love it.
Anything by Manowar is like so cringe, but it's iconic at the same time. Yeah.
But it's it's interesting listening to a modern day Katatonia album because I feel like it is a lot more kind of jaunty and the lyrics are a bit less depressing than they were when I was more familiar with the band. Like, funnily enough, that one of their earlier albums, so Discouraged Ones, which I think was released about the turn of the millennium, 2001, might even be a bit earlier, might even be 99, but they've got a track called Gone, and it's just the most bleak song I've ever listened to.
No way.
It's so fucking, like, depressing. But I love it. It's a great track. And this is like so different. So it's been quite an interesting experience to listen to this album, you know, not being too familiar with their latest stuff and kind of like seeing where the band are at in 2023. But it's been really critically acclaimed online. So like a lot of people are really digging this album. And yeah, I enjoy it. It's good. My favourite track on the album is No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall, which is the second last track on the album. The last track, if you're not including the bonus track. And that's definitely my favourite track on the album because it's got some real serious kind of like groove and swing to it. And I think, you know, some of the more proggier elements of the album really kind of remind me of like Opeth in the most light-hearted moments. And yeah, just like there's a lot of this album that I could really kind of like dig and get into. I think it's just wrapping my brain around that this isn't the same band I was into like 20 years ago.
I guess there must be very different people compared to back then too, because that's like a whole lifetime for me of experience that they're channeling into like all these different albums that they've released. There's also so many members by the looks of the picture Shev's pulled up. I've also noticed that 2 of them are in Bloodbath, which is good stuff.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's
Anders Nyström and Jonas Renkser.
Yeah, so he's the long-time vocalist. It's funny because the first album, Dance of December Souls, he's actually doing harsh vocals.
Oh,
and it's like just like really like super pain screams before he started adopting like a clean vocal style.
Interesting.
But yeah, they're 2 of the long-time members. So they've been, as far as I'm aware, they've both been members of Katatonia more or less from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, and then the other members of the band, I think, would have started around about 2015 time, I think. So it's, which is quite common for a long-running band, really. You know, I mean, it's, I think it's rare to find a band that's begun as long as Katatonia have, you know, any...
The same members.
Yeah. I mean, having 2 members, I would say, is a rarity. Like, normally it's just the one guy. Yeah. Somebody, the bassist.
Everyone else has fallen out.
The bassist has hung around for the longest time.
Yeah.
But no, it's... what band was it? It's like Meshuggah, I think. It's the same fucking members.
Yeah, it's really rare. I think, yeah. They're just, like, really chill.
Yeah.
Just super, super laid back. But it's a long time for, like, your life to remain stable enough that you can also be in a band. Like, essentially, like, over 30 years.
Well, yeah, I suppose if you think about it, they've weathered quite a lot of storms in the music scene during that time as well. You know,
the decline of vinyl, the rise of CDs, the decline of CDs, the rise of streaming, the decline of streaming.
Don't forget the rise and very quick decline of mini discs.
I love mini discs so much. They're so cute. I think we should have like a mini disc player in our phones.
Yeah.
How cool would that be if you could just slot a little disc into your phone?
I don't know anyone that had mini discs.
I had mini discs.
No, did you?
I had ABBA on mini disc and Creedence Clearwater Revival.
I thought you were going to say Creed for a second.
I wasn't cool enough to listen to Creed. No, I used to put them into... We had like I think we still have it somewhere, like a Sony Hi-Fi. Had a CD player, a cassette player, and a mini disc player.
That's wild.
It was so cute. And it was really small as well. But yeah, we had it for like the early 90s.
Yeah, God. what's the other one? Betamax as well.
I never had Betamax. I've still got my Walkman with cassette in it, and I used to, my early interviews when I was like a teenager, I'd record interviews on tape on my Walkman, and people would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the funny thing about like back in the Walkman days and the tape days was I remember recording tracks off of the radio using it. And then like there were certain tracks where I would listen to that I can't, like they'll have like a radio announcement towards the end of the song, and that's what I always expect that to
Come in
like
the
pop
actual
into the song, like, and I'm
like
just like I can't train my brain to unhear it.
Amazing.
But now,
Yeah.
But no, so I think for anybody that's a fan of Katatonia, they're probably going to get a lot out of this album. And for newer people, such as for you and me, I think, it's worth a shot, in my opinion.
I've heard it's a really good album to get into if you've not listened to Katatonia, which is why I was like really up for reviewing this.
I think you were saying that Opaline was your favourite track.
Yeah, I wrote down that it's like a breakup anthem. Opaline. It's got like these really beautiful kind of... It's got a really good vibe to it. Like a lot of the album was really vibey. They had like these pulsing keyboards, and there was like at the same time a kind of pop punk mix to it as well.
I thought that track sounded like it had like a horn at the beginning or something.
Yeah.
Like it was... there's great. There's definitely some interesting like synth and keyboard work on this album. Like it definitely adds a lot to the atmosphere, which is like that's definitely more of a more modern thing with this band. I feel like with their newer stuff. 'Cause I don't ever remember there being much keyboard or synth work on the earlier albums, but they were always quite stripped back as a band. So it's but yeah, no, that was a great track. I thought Author was a great track as well. That had a really cool groovy riff that kicked in about 1 minute into the track. Good solo as well.
I was going to say, in Impermanence, right? Is that from Joel Ekaloff? From
So the track below was the one that had the great... the track below? Sorry.
Impermanence.
As above, so below.
Nice.
The track before Author was the one that had the great solo, but Impermanence was also a great track.
Yeah.
That had some really cool like dual lead work.
Totally.
And just like really soaring choruses. There's a lot of like soaring vocal melodies on this album. Like he's still quite like reserved and morose sounding, but like it's much happier than I remember Katatonia sounding.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. I think there's some really interesting moments, and I kind of wish I had like 30 years of Katatonia listening experience that I could bring to it to like kind of see it from the lens that you're saying, because I guess it's like when you've got such a huge body of work, because I was looking at like the list of releases they have, and it's a significant amount. They're prolific. I feel like it's really difficult to view an album as a single entity in this kind of context. So I feel like I'm kind of looking at like a tiny pixel in a big picture.
I think, yeah, you're spot on there, because there's so many bands who, when we review the album, it's impossible for me not to mention other albums, like Immolation, for example, like reviewing them, or, like even like a band like Blind Guardian. Like I'm constantly thinking about, especially if I'm really familiar with the back catalogue, I'm constantly thinking and comparing it to other albums. Oh, that sounds like something from this album. That sounds like something from... So it's that's why this is quite a bit of a unique experience for me, because I've been really like not been paying attention to Katatonia for the longest time. So it was kind of like, a bit of a shock to the system to kind of hear what they sound like now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was great. Great stuff, Katatonia. Shall we move on to Ahab, the Coral Tombs?
Yes, let's.
Yes, this is a German band formed in 2004 in Heidelberg, Baden-Württemberg, according to Metal Archives.
Maybe that's who was trying to call you.
Yeah, honestly, that was a really strange phone call. Yeah, this is a really cool... you know what? This is going to be something that only us in the room understand, but I need to send this to Tyrone.
Oh,
He would love this album. This is like a proper, like, depressive sea shanty album.
That's such a good way of putting it. It really is. Yeah, but they sound so nautical.
They
I can't explain what it is about it. Like that's what like the lyrics are about and stuff. But at the same time, they actually sound like it. It's like this album sounds like Thalassophobia.
It does. It sounds deep. Like it's like it sounds like. Okay, I hate to say it, but you know that Pirates of the Caribbean film with, is it Javier Bardem?
I've seen the first Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Okay, so there's one. It's not Javier Bardem. It's like, or maybe it is. It's he's amazing. He's like this Spanish cursed pirate. It's in like the fifth one or however many there are.
Christ, I never got that far.
Yeah, well, they're not too bad. I mean, is that him? Yeah, that guy. It sounds like that guy. The vocals sound like this guy, but not Spanish. But he's got such a sick voice. Like his voice acting is so good in that film. And like, yeah, he's like cursed to live in the deep or some shit. And like they go in this like cursed fire triangle, Bermuda Triangle thing, and he comes up and he's like, I'm gonna fuck you up. Anyway,
Did you say it like that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'm gonna fuck you up, mate. I love Javier Bardem. He's one of my favorite actors of all time.
He's
Absolute
great
genius.
have you watched Sicario?
I haven't.
Oh my god, that film is so fucked up. I love it, but he's great in that.
Oh, he's really good in is it No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's so fucking good in that film. Like, there's this moment right at the beginning where he like strangles someone to death, and you can see him like genuinely like channeling a psychopath. Like his eyes are just like terrifying in the most interesting way.
If you enjoyed that, you'll love Sicario, because there's a moment in there, I won't spoil it, where it's like one of the most tense moments in cinema I've ever experienced. It's like right near the end as well.
My favourite moment in cinema ever is in No Country for Old Men, and it's Bardem, and he's talking to a guy in a service station.
Yeah.
And he's just telling the guy to flip a coin. And like he's like buying some nuts and telling a guy to flip a coin. That's the entire conversation, but it's the best acting I have ever seen in my whole life. It's so good. He gives him the coin when he wins the flip, and he's like, "This is your lucky coin. Don't get rid of it." But it is like any other coin. Yeah.
I've never seen that film. Is that Daniel
really
Day-Lewis?
Good. I think so. Is it Daniel? Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of There Will Be Blood. Right? Josh Brolin is in Sicario. Yes.
Interesting. I wonder who the director is. But yeah, honestly, I really recommend that film. It's bloody good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll watch it at some point.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And what were we saying? Yeah, this album, it's definitely got this like really interesting, colourful voice.
The vocals I really like, because you were comparing his vocals to the dude from Pirates.
That's right.
And like I have always been a fan of like that uber ultra like guttural like toilet bowl kind of like subterranean vocal style, and he's always done it really well. There's some cool guest vocals on this album as well. So the first track, Professor Aronnax's Descent into the Vast Ocean, which is a reference to 20,000 Leagues
Under the Sea.
Yes. That's featuring the vocalist Chris from the band Ultha, which is a black metal band. So that is where the more kind of like histrionic vocals, that's who is performing the more histrionic vocals in that track.
It's really chaotic.
Yeah, it's great. Like the beginning of that track as well is just so like, what a fucking start to the album.
You're like, is it going backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dragged into Sunlight, just how kind of like claustrophobic and kind of oppressive it sounds. And then the last track, The Maelstrom, is featuring Greg from Esoteric. So a UK funeral doom band.
We're playing with them.
Yeah, we're playing with Esoteric.
Oh yeah, you guys are. Yeah.
Plug. We're playing with Esoteric on the 5th of March.
That Masters of the Riff, is it?
Yeah, Masters of the Riff. Come and see us play. We'll be there.
They're cool live. He plays with a like a headpiece.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sick.
Headpiece, headset.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah, no, just always think that just looks so cool.
Yeah, I love it. You could dance at the same time. You could pull some sick moves.
But I saw them. They were headlining the show. It was them, Bell Witch, and some other bands. Can't remember who else.
Was it the Godflesh show?
No, it wasn't Godflesh.
Oh,
it was. I really can't remember who else was there. But I went to watch Bell Witch and Esoteric as well, because I'm a fan of them.
Nice.
And someone else was playing. Can't remember. It was back in like 2017.
Oh yeah, there's no way we're going to remember that. Shem is frantically googling though.
But he also has a similar vocal style to Daniel from Ahab. You know, it's that ultra kind of guttural style. And there's just, you know what, this album, just overall, there's just so many cool fucking moments in it.
There really are.
It's a long haul. If you're not into the funeral doom style or don't have the attention span to sit with a 10-minute track, then you're going to struggle, because each track is about 10 minutes long.
It's very funerary. You are literally being dragged 20,000 leagues under the sea as you listen to it. It just gets deeper and deeper.
But it's got everything you'd expect and love to hear in an Ahab album. There's like some really cool like morose acoustic segments. There's some they're kind of similar to bands like Cult of Luna and Neurosis, in the sense that they like to take their time to build up the atmosphere to a song, and it kind of crescendos in a way that is just so kind of fucking cool. The second track, Colossus of the Liquid Graves, has a really actually cool amount of like punch and groove to it.
Yeah.
Like the production's amazing. Everything sounds like really bombastic and loud. like but not too like crystal clear as well. Like it sounds like gritty and like kind of like salty.
I love the lyrics, and like of all the whole album, I've done like my whole thing where I go deep in the lyrics. But this track, I remember like I was like reading the lyrics at the same time, and I was like, this rocks. So my favorite verse in this is tentacles furnished with rows of hooks, bleedful watchers, hideous mollusks, what vitality, what vigour in all parts, and they possess their hearts.
That's cool.
That's great. I could just imagine a pirate reading that out and telling like, aye! Yeah.
That's good shit.
It's great, man.
I think my favourite track was probably Mobilis in Mobily.
Oh, that was mine as well.
I think that's been released as a single, if I'm not mistaken. It's cool because it starts with like this kind of like bubbling like sounds, like a sample.
Yeah.
And then the track just builds so well, and it's just such a fucking absolute beast of a track. Like it's just super, super heavy, like super groovy, and just like super fucking atmospheric. Just totally, like I've been sitting with this album for just under 2 weeks now. So I listened to this. I actually bought it on Bandcamp.
Oh, nice.
Just to prove that I still purchase music legally.
Legally? Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. Like I'm glad I did. I loved the previous album, Bloats. Oh, I was on such a good run. I love the previous album, Bloats. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the name of my diet program. But no, it's Boats of the Glen Carrig. Oh god, bloats of the bloats. Do you know what's so annoying about that? I was on such a good run before then. Like I don't think I've fucked up a single word.
Oh, you did so well. Yeah. Oh. Bless you.
But another cool thing, hallmark about this album that's still in place is the artwork. So it's the same guy, Sebastian Jörg, who's done the artwork for most of the previous albums. Maybe not the first one, but definitely The Giant, definitely Boats of the Glen Carrig, and now this album. It's a cool kind of like distinct style. It's kind of a little bit reminiscent of some of like the some of the metalcore artwork that was kicking about in like the mid 2000s. Like it's kind of got like almost like a comic-esque appearance to it, like really like kind of cartoonish kind of lines, but it totally works for the album and this band and this style. And they're all it's very nautical. Has it got like a giant squid on it, Shem? Or?
Yeah, it's got a giant squid. And the thing I really love about this, right, is that every single song is referenced in that cover. So you've got the Nautilus, which is the ship of Captain Nemo, and you've got the squid that they're describing in the second song. You've got like this whole horde of like underwater explorers. You've got the coral tombs, literally, like all around, like the gravestones. Yeah, there's something. I think you can. Yeah, I guess the Kraken. Like the maelstrom is like above them. I think with those sharks in the thingy. I guess that's a maelstrom, right? It's a whirlpool. So yeah, it's really cool. Like you can see all everything's properly referenced in the cover, which is quite difficult to do with like a 7-track album.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's well observed. I didn't clock that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sick.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there's the Colossus, and then the Kraken's behind him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I really like how like the artwork is like a really good way to talk about how everything in the album is like really well conceptualized. So like in the first song, it introduces you to Captain Nemo, who's the main character. Well, he's a character in 20,000 Leagues. His name means like no one in Latin. And then like mobilis and mobili is his like it's his catchphrase. It's like on his flag, and it means motion within motion or change within change. So it's really interesting because this character, he's actually like in the first few books that Jules Verne wrote, he was like was kind of ambiguous. He's like probably European, but then it turns out he's actually like the son of an Indian Raja. So he's actually like, he's not white and he's anti-imperialist. So he's like basically traveling the seas and he's shooting down ships that belong. He's like, the sea belongs to no one. Literally in Mobilis and Mobili, they write, to tyrants the depths don't belong, which is from the books. Killing for killing's sake, superiors' earthly honours be gone. These men and maids are the oppressed. Behold, all that I condemn, oppression comes in many shades. So it's like a proper like I don't know about if it's anti-capitalist, but it's like definitely, it's on brand because today is like the strike day in the UK. Yeah. And he basically in the books, he's like, the Nautilus is like going underneath the ocean and like shooting down these like colonial ships and like these ships that are like shipping weapons across the ocean and stuff.
Can I just say, this music video for Mobilis Mobili is on a boat.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's legit.
That's cool, man.
So have you read the Jules Verne's
I
Yep.
love Jules Verne. I
Yeah.
love his stuff. I haven't read it in years, but
Yeah.
I adore his work because he's like, what is it? Journey to the Center of the Earth is like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And basically, like, there's loads of geological stuff in it, like nerding out about like mica and cool rocks and like crazy creatures and like the tension of like traveling to the center of the planet and like all these worlds opening up to you. I remember being a kid and like seeing. It's been a long time. I don't even know who made the films or who's in them, but there's films of Journey to the Center of the Earth, and I think also 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, they're like proper old, aren't they? Like,
They're
yeah.
really old, but
Yeah.
they're amazing. Like as a kid, I think it pretty much like opened my eyes to fantasy. I remember being like really young and seeing those on TV in the daytime. Amazing. Yeah, they're really good films. Honestly, I don't know. Oh my god, there's been remakes.
There's a Brendan Fraser one.
Oh,
Oh shit! Yeah, I
Brendan
forgot about that.
Fraser. No way.
He's probably a shoo-in for the Oscar this year, I think.
Oh, I hope he gets it. He deserves it, man.
I love Brendan Fraser.
So wholesome. I grew up with him. He was like, you know, just so
How was he?
cool. How was he?
No,
Apparently, I don't have words to describe. But yeah, he was great. Jules Verne, great writer, man. I really enjoyed his stuff.
I love the Mummy films. I thought they were great. I've not seen the third one, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
I don't think I've seen that either.
It's not got the same Evie, so Rachel Weisz.
Oh,
in it.
she is so amazing, Rachel
I
Weisz.
think
I love
everyone
her.
had a crush on her.
Yeah, I have
Well,
a
I
crush
did.
on her.
She didn't
They're
do
all
nothing
hot.
for me.
What? How could you say that? She's perfect. She's like one of the most perfect people I've ever seen. She's so beautiful.
It's Stephen Sommers who directed those films. He also done Van Helsing.
Really,
With
I
Hugh
love
Jackman.
that. That is so bad, but I love it. And the sisters, Dracula's wives, so fucking hot.
Oh, just
They're beautiful, and like it's got fucking Monica Bellucci.
yeah.
Yeah, she's so beautiful. Oh my god, and the blonde lady. Oh, the
Wait,
anyway.
do you mean Kate Beckinsale?
No, she's not blonde in that. That's not her.
What is this?
Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
No, there's like
Yeah, Kate Beckinsale.
no, the blonde one's Kate Beckinsale.
No, the Kate Beckinsale's the
Oh, she's the
the other
lead.
protagonist.
Ah, yeah, no, she never really did it for me, but Dracula's wives, amazing. She was like, what?
I love how corny that film is. It's one of the cheesiest
It's
films.
a great film.
It's good,
Dracula
bad
in
stuff.
it just fucking kills me. And I love how Shakespearean Frankenstein's monster is. He's just like
I was literally talking about this the other day. Do you remember there's Quasimodos in it? And there's a bit where he's like, he tricks Van Helsing and he's like, you think you trick Quasimodo, but he trick you.
there's a bit where they're strapping Frankenstein's monster into this machine to try and generate enough power to like bring alive Dracula's brood. And like
The outfits are amazing.
Yeah, I love those outfits, man.
there's just one line he says that always gets me, that I always quote, because I am well accustomed to pain.
Oh shit, Faramir's in it. as
No
well.
way!
Yeah. It's I can't remember the actor that Carl. No,
Carl Faramir.
That's Carl Urban you're thinking of. Who's,
no, I am. Do you know, his name is Carl in the movie in Van Helsing. His character's called Carl. I can't remember the fucking actor's name.
Oh, he looks great.
But
in
yeah,
that.
you're all right. I was thinking of Carl Urban as well.
David Wenham.
I would
Wow.
never remember that in a million
Nah.
The
years.
character is Carl in the film.
No.
Yeah, nice. Good
But
film.
gonna say, just bring back to Ahab quickly. My first
No,
experience
I want to
with
talk about Van Helsing.
Captain Nemo and the whole 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea kind of like lore was that really shitty film in the 2000s. You know, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh my god!
So the
yeah.
Alan Moore adaptation, which was that
I
was
love
just,
that film.
Did you? That film was just.
It's a mess, but I like. It has some like. It's got what's his face in it. Sean Connery. That's
Sean
it.
Connery.
That's my Sean Connery impression, apparently. You know, Captain Nemo is also. I didn't know this, but it was a pseudonym that Odysseus adopted when he defeated the Cyclops Polyphemus in the Odyssey.
Oh,
So
cool.
Nemo's already it's like a double seafaring name.
Oh, cool.
That's such a cool choice by Verne, and also these guys to include it because you don't really see Verne stuff that often these days. Anyway, not these days, not like the old days.
not like the good old days.
Good old days.
Well, Nemo looked like that in Extraordinary.
Yeah, well, Nemo's supposed to be Indian.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
actually cast him right.
But interestingly, like I
Indian?
looked at a list of actors that have played Captain Nemo. Here we go: James Mason, Herbert Lom, Patrick Stewart, Nasruddin Shah, who I think is that one, Ben Cross, Michael Caine has
Nice.
played Captain Nemo. The most recent, there's going to be one that's coming out in a few years with Shazad Latif as Captain Nemo,
Okay.
which I'm into because he's great Klingon in Star Trek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Sure.
I don't know anything about Star Trek, so I couldn't confirm nor deny whether or not he was a good Klingon.
The car from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is so cool.
That's a pretty cool car. If you ran someone over with that, that would be pretty brutal.
It's got Ganesh on it.
It does. From this far away, though, the lights look like little silly faces. It's like two Brums strapped either side to a car. Did you ever watch Brum?
Yeah, I remember Brum.
Brum.
Yeah, the anthropomorphic car. Its eyes used to kind of creep me out a bit.
Oh, I loved it. It used to blink, right?
But there was like the outro where like, it might have been the intro, where like the lights dim and you see its eyes last.
Yeah, he drives back into his little warehouse and goes to sleep. That's so cute. I wanted to drive him.
It reminds me of being ill because it would come on a bit too, if you were like sick from school, it would like, if you were at school, you would have missed it.
Yeah.
But if you were off, then you would have caught it.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, that's terrifying, man.
I love Brum. You're going to see him staring into your window one night.
Yeah, no, that's my new sleep paralysis demon.
I'd love Brum as my sleep paralysis demon. I'd be fine with that.
That is kind of intense, though, right? Like that is.
It's intense, but I'm into it. I dig it. Oh, Brum goes shopping. Oh my god, Brum in Tesco. It's so cute, and his little doors open up when he's excited and he flaps about. It's adorable. Why have kids when you can have Brum? I mean, do both. That's just car crash pictures now. That's horrible.
In Birmingham.
Oh no. It's terrible SEO. Anyway, back to Ahab. So I love the Nemo theme throughout the album. I love that there's like this kind of anti-imperialist slant on it as well. I'm super into that.
Yeah, just overall, just a fantastic album. Sounds great. Production's amazing. I want to give a quick shout out to the bass work. Stefan van der North, the bassist. There's one track in particular which I thought like the bass really stood out, and it was the sea as a desert. It just sounded so crystal clear, but like still so heavy and just like really holding down the groove. And I just feel like it's just one of those instruments, when you grow up listening to a lot of metal from the I said that really caught me, a lot of metal,
a lot of Michael Caine,
a lot of heavy metal. When you grow up listening to a lot of metal from like the 80s and 90s, like there's a lot of times where like the bass is really kind of like understated and lost in the mix. But I feel like now with like production becoming more modern, it's there's a lot more albums now that really highlight it as an instrument, and I think it's cool because I think it really adds a lot to an album when it's more audible.
No, I agree. I think this is great. I feel like it's a grower as well. Yeah, definitely. That's it. I need a bit more time to sit with it because it is a long album. I think it clocks in at about 50 minutes. Each track is about 10 minutes plus long. Some a bit under, but it's but yeah, like a lot of the other albums, it kind of festers over time and kind of grows on you and kind of like you become a barnacle. You end up becoming part of the ship.
Yeah.
That's great stuff, man. We have one more album, which is probably going to be a quick one, because I don't think you've had time to listen to it.
I've not had time to listen to this, sadly, because I'm getting ready to go to Birmingham for a week. So all that talk of Brum, I will be going to Brumland myself.
The home of Brum.
Well, no, technically not Birmingham, because it's at the NEC, which is apparently under a different postcode. But I will be near Birmingham for a week.
So Brum, he'll meet an invisible wall when he tries to come and haunt your sleep. Yeah, good stuff. Well, the next... I didn't mean for that to sound sarcastic. Anyway, the next album is by Jonathan Hulten, and it is The Forest Sessions. So this is like pretty much an acoustic album. Jonathan Hulten used to be in Tribulation, and this is like very, very different to probably his work in that album. This is his like second in that. I don't know why I said album in that band. This is like his second release, and it's kind of like a variation into some degree on his first one. But oh my god, I just love his music, and their style is really beautiful. They kind of have this androgynous look, like loads of different types of like, it's not corpse paint, but it's like very pale, kind of like 70s, 60s gypsy look with like incredibly highlighted eyes and big earrings and dresses and interesting headpieces, and it just looks so paired with the music. It conjures this world that it reminds me a lot of this artist, Seb McKinnon, who does this incredible fantasy art. He's like well known for his work in Magic the Gathering cards. And this music is like, it really is, I mean, the first release is Songs from Another Place or Chants from Another Place. Yeah. And it very much feels like you're in another world when you're listening to him. And I think he lives in Sweden, and he goes and they perform in these like beautiful woodlands, and they're just playing acoustic guitar dressed in this incredibly incredible way in the middle of nature, singing these beautiful songs of like really kind of folky but their own style of acoustic music with like gorgeous harmonies, intertwining melodies, and like it's also really comforting. It's like kind of dark, but then at the same time you kind of feel like they're telling you it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
which is really nice. Yeah, like they have songs like Call to Adventure, The Mountain, Where Devils Weep. I think that and the Pillars Tremble is my favorite. And like they're described in their bio as enigmatic, which I think is very much the case. And the comparisons that they put down in their Bandcamp is like Nick Drake, who I love. I don't know if you've listened to Nick Drake stuff.
No, not familiar.
Really,
I'm going to say Nick Cave for a second, but no, Nick Drake.
Maybe
no.
some Nick Cave, but no, Nick Drake. Really beautiful singer, like amazing voice, really good lyricist as well. And I think Hulten like definitely brings that to the fore as well. Like their music, you can tell the lyrics like really lend well to the melodies in terms of like the intonation and where the words are placed in the song and the way that they're being. I think he's kind of like, they're like a singer's singer to an extent. Like I think a lot of vocalists would absolutely love it, and like the poetry it's actually poetry. It's not like lame like stuff that someone's just like, I have to put some words here, so
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
choose
an
some
afterthought.
words.
Yeah.
It's like very much considered, and it's really beautifully put together. It's like really artful, and I think a big something I would love to do is see them in performance, because a big part of their work I think is their videos as well. Like they're merging the music with visual art to a degree, so I think it's like really beautifully done. I think Shams put something up that but it's just a black screen right now. It's gone black.
Yeah.
It's gone black. This isn't one of the live performances. It's an animation, but they did like a road band performance. There's loads. There's like literally the whole album's worth of videos pretty much on YouTube.
Was that that road burn that was pretty much just all online?
It was all inside and online,
Yep.
yeah. And they did a performance literally in the woods. Wow. It's so beautiful. And like in this video as well, like there's a moment where like when the moment the music starts, they look into the camera. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's like, it's so well curated.
Kind of reminds me a bit of like that kind of kabuki style.
Yeah, it is.
It's like Klaus Nomi.
Klaus Nomi. You mean the artist that did the Dracula poster? The Klaus, is it Klaus Kinski?
No, Klaus Nomi.
Is it Klaus Nomi? Oh, right. Okay, that's interesting. I've not heard of them. But yeah, it's really gorgeous stuff.
That's cool. So is it literally just vocals, guitar?
There's organs, and there's like a bit of like pulsing synthy keyboard as well in some of them. I think the organs work really well. Yeah. Like they really lend like this kind of ethereal, like not Christian, but like kind of sacred vibe, sacred like intensity to the music that I think works really well.
So they must have left Tribulation to kind of focus on more of this kind of solo stuff, I imagine.
Basically, like they left Tribulation, and Tribulation said in an interview afterwards that they nearly broke up because of Hulten leaving. Yeah, I think they'd been an integral part of the band for a long time, and I think the reasons that Hulten gave was that they wanted to focus more on I think like I can't remember exactly what they said, but focus more on their own thing. I think it sounds like they really wanted to explore this part of their musical like consciousness, soul. I don't know how you describe it, but yeah, you can very much tell this is like really a part of who Hulten is. Yeah,
that's fair enough. And I think more power to people that that realize they want to explore a musical direction that's more true to them. And Tribulation themselves are quite. I mean, I wouldn't call them avant-garde. I think they're not like Imperial Triumphant, but they are like it's quite cool what they do. Like it's not too. It's not very homogenous. There's not many bands that kind of sound exactly like Tribulation.
Totally.
Yeah, they've always had that kind of gothic element to the music, and just even like slightly romanticized take on like black and death metal. Like at times it didn't even sound like an extreme metal band, but they've definitely got a lot of DNA there. But no, I definitely want to give this album a listen. I mean, this sounds really quite cool. Even just the visuals from the music video actually look really like it would be cool to watch and listen to a video or a song about nature, not have to worry about it having links to
yeah, it's true.
Well, this is cool.
Yeah, visually it's so striking. Like this video, I think they're like reversing and then also slowing and speeding up at the same time, like the movements of Hulten's arms.
Yeah, that's
and
sick.
It's like so cool. It's like it's its own thing. I can't think of anything else like this.
It's kind of like if you got Denis Villeneuve to direct an Immortal video.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Like seeing this, I'm like, oh, I'd love to do my own version of this. As like, yeah, same. Like this is so inspirational. We watched like Color of Pomegranates a few weeks ago, which is
so
incredible film. I probably shouldn't say this because every band's gonna rip us off now.
I'll bleep it. No,
We watched Boop.
I'm cutting that. No one else is getting that.
Okay, we watched Boop. There was a film we watched. It was incredible, and like we're gonna basically very much use elements of that film in our future music videos. And seeing Hulten do this is like we're absolutely not gonna rip them off, but it's inspirational. It's like very inspirational, and like seeing them doing this, like there's a lot of Nick Drake. This Pentangle is like a huge influence on me in terms of like acoustic. I think we actually covered one of their songs, one of their albums. I think it was Light Flight. It's like their best song. It's so good. It's like the most complex acoustic music I've ever heard. It's like really, it's very much influenced by like early folk music as well.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I love folk music personally. I think it's when done right, I reckon it's probably some of the most soul-searing music that's out there.
Totally. I think it really like drives into like the primal ancient selves that we don't end up getting to kind of feel in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Because of like, I mean, I don't know where Hulten lives, if he's like living somewhere suburban or like really rural or what, but yeah, we live pretty much in the city.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a very different, I feel like this kind of music is because I feel like metal is very primal, but there's different elements of primality in like metal, and then also I think that's why a lot of us like acoustic music, because this kind anyway, because it is still tapping into that like ancient, aggressive, beastly part of ourselves. But maybe it's not beastly, it's more like I just want to go and hug a tree and smell some moss.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me because like growing up, like I've always lived in London and always lived pretty much in the centre of London as well. And I think being surrounded by such like an industrialized landscape was always a strange juxtaposition, because every holiday we'd go up to Scotland and visit family. And like even, you know, like where parents are from in Scotland, Dundee is still one of the third biggest cities in Scotland, or fourth, or was one of the two. But like, you know, so I got a taste of nature there. But like when I heard music that was truly inspired by it, like it felt kind of like alien to me because it's not what I was familiar with. So that's why I love a band like Enslaved so much. Like after watching the Enslaved documentary, they talk about how inspired they are by like the beautiful vistas and stuff and like mountainscapes that they grew up with. So it was kind of like I was kind of I love to live vicariously through bands and artists that are good at kind of like depicting that beauty through music.
Totally. I think as well, like the Western European sort of history, we were like, when the Romantic era took place, like there was a real emphasis on like how sublime nature is. And before then, there wasn't really, like you wouldn't get landscapes in art. Art would always be like a person or a holy thing or an important thing. And then suddenly you had like thousands of pictures of mountains and forests. Like if you go to any charity shop in America, there's like always going to be like an alpine view. There's going to be like a mountain and a river. And like when you're a kid, well, you draw a house, you draw your family, and then you draw a mountain and a rainbow and a river and some hills. Like that's very much like a result of, I mean, from what I've learned at university, take of that what you will, whether it's useless or not, is that that's a very much 18th century thing when people started actually writing poetry about nature in that kind of reverential way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's... what was I going to say? Just sorry, this is really dumbing down the point you've just made.
Go for it.
I saw a clip of, it was a compilation of old paintings that Bob Ross had drawn.
Oh yeah, I love his. I was thinking of him.
But the weird thing was, and I don't know if this is true or if this was somebody like manipulating like the works through just fucking whatever. But like they showed like a transition of every painting he'd ever done, and it was like a flowing river. So he was actually drawing a continuation of each painting. This could be utter bullshit, so I don't know if, like I said, if it was manipulated, but it was so cool.
That is amazing.
But it showed, like a compilation of all his works, and it literally, he was drawing like a continuous kind of
that's really
mural,
cool.
I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really impressive. I mean, he's seen as such a cultural icon as well, isn't he? He's very much like a...
So wholesome. If anything came out about him, I'd be genuinely heartbroken.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sure it won't.
I mean, he's been dead for a while, so I think that ship's probably sailed. I think.
It was an AI trained to paint.
Motherfucker.
No, fucking AI.
Really?
Man, they got you.
Not
God damn
again. Oh, AI is everywhere now. I saw someone had signed a picture made by AI and been like posted and been like sold, and I was like, no, what are you doing? I
was thinking that's some mad foresight to be able to like draw a continuous like kind of mural for all those years. That's why it blew my mind so much. Speaking of AI, I saw an interesting article. Sorry, this is a bit of a 180.
Yeah.
But apparently there was some YouTuber doing an apology. It was him crying because he was like jerking off to AI. He was jerking off to AI art of his ex-girlfriend. It was like deep faked, like
what, on YouTube or what?
No, it was like what was it? It was deep faked videos he was finding. I don't know how it got exposed, but in the video he's there crying, apologizing for it, while his current partner's in the back also crying, and it's just the most awkward thing
that's horrific
I've ever seen. I could be getting some of the details wrong, but that's what it was. It was deep.
Why would you make that public?
I don't know what happened.
Also, why dump that guy?
I think it was Pokimane. Have you ever heard of her before? Don't know. She's some Twitch streamer, but apparently that was the ex-girlfriend. That's who he was watching like deep fake porn of.
Oh my god, I got a Twitter notification about her earlier. And the Twitter notification was, please don't
jerk off.
No, it was please don't sexualize me or something like that. So I guess it was in relation to this whole drama. Damn.
Could be, yeah, but it was.
I don't care. If it's a streamer, it's just, I care.
I used to be a streamer, so be careful what you say. I'm a failed streamer over here. Streamer dropout.
It seems too much like fake news to me. Like they've done it to generate.
I don't know, man.
Why would you make a video like that of the guy crying publicly? It's bullshit.
It does seem kind of generated to like garner some attention and some views and stuff. But yeah, no, it was just you mentioning the fact that Bob Ross collage was AI that made me think, and I saw a weird post about AI earlier. Just thought I had to share it.
I feel like Hulten is the opposite of AI when it comes to music, so that's probably a good way to round out this not quite as chaotic as last time episode.
No, not quite.
It's not been enough Shrek for it to be chaotic. But yeah, there's 3 amazing albums this week. Hulten actually dropped in December 2022. That was the year.
That's close enough.
Yeah, honestly, I like that album enough that I was like, I'm going to review it for this because I love it and it needs to be. I think because when you release something that late into the year, it's hard for people to pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it deserves some love.
100%.
100%.
One honey. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like and subscribe. This was not sponsored by anybody, including Skillshare. We weren't sponsored by Skillshare. But yeah, please subscribe to us so we can at some point say that we are and have lots of money. Thank you so much. Until next time.